There was a period in my life where my finances felt fine. I was earning well, I was paying my bills, I was putting something aside every month. Nothing was wrong, nothing felt urgent, and to be honest, that felt like success. But what I did not realize at the time is that fine was actually costing me money, and it wasn't moving me any closer to my goals of building real wealth. And this wasn't because I was doing anything wrong, but because I was not doing enough of the right things. And feeling fine gave me no reason to notice. That's what I want to talk about today. When most people imagine a financial problem, they picture something obvious, right? Being in debt, overdrafts, feeling real stress at the end of the month. And of course, those are real problems, even though I do not think they're your problems. But actually, I think it's somewhere else where the long-term financial damage happens. And that is in the quiet middle. Because this urgency of debt or overdrafts can actually be very useful. If something is clearly broken, you have no choice but to repair it, right? But when everything feels fine, there's no pressure. It's like this, why fix something that is not broken, right? And then the years pass, but suddenly you find yourself with not enough wealth to get by if you wanted to stop working or reduce hours or be more flexible or whatever it is you want. And when we continue with that picture for a while, let's say we have 3 financial stages. One is struggling. So we have struggling where there's an obvious financial problem. And because it is so obvious, the discomfort forces you to act. Then we have the second stage, where everything is fine. So there is no obvious problem, and that is what can make you feel very comfortable, right? But comfortable stops you from moving. And then you have a third stage, which is, let me call it automated money, where you also do not have a problem, but at the same time, you're working towards the wealth you actually want to build. And so in the struggling stage, you have that pain that is pushing you forward, right? Because you have to do something about your situation. And in the automatic money stage, you have that pull of a system that is working for you and is pulling you towards wealth in the future. But in the middle, in the fine stage, you have no urgency, so nothing to push you out of a specific situation. But you also, if you're not careful, have no reason to change anything about that situation. Are you guys getting this? And it's very easy to stay there day after day, month after month, and year after year. Now let's look at the hidden costs of staying in fine. One is time passing. And I'd say this is the one that hits people hardest. When I think back to my 20s, my financial situation stayed identical for too long. I had the same rough savings rate, the same vague plan of sorting everything out at some point, and that same feeling of that, actually I'm doing okay and nothing's really wrong. But compound interest doesn't work on vague plans or feeling fine. It works on time, especially if you do not have loads and loads of money to invest. And so every year I spent in that stage of, actually everything is fine, was me missing out time in the market and my money not growing. And the frustrating thing about this is that you only really feel it when you look back. In the actual moment, every month of waiting feels justified. You're busy, life gets in the way, and nothing's really that urgent, right? And then it's only later that you do the math and you think, oh my God, if I had just started 5 years earlier, then this would have made a significant difference in my wealth. Not just because of how much I invested, but also the time it had to grow. And there's a reason why we humans are underestimating compound interest so much. In the early years, it does look like nothing's happening. And then the numbers are small and the growth is also slow. And there is not really that feedback that's telling you that it's working exceptionally good. So you just have to trust. And that can be hard. And that is what makes it so easy to say, I'll do this properly later when I earn more, right? So if you're there, please don't wait any longer. Just get started. Okay, the other hidden cost is false progress. And this is a pattern that I saw in myself as well as in others. When you are saving every month, then you're already doing something, right? So a little amount goes into your savings account and you see that number grow and it feels productive. It also feels responsible, and it is responsible. But there's just a difference between having some money in a savings account that grows with simple interest and having money invested that compounds over time, which means where interest is earned on interest. So of course, saving money in a savings account is good and it's an important pillar in personal finance. But if this is where the money stops, it's not actually moving you forward enough. Are you guys getting this? So the trap of this false progress is that it satisfies you just enough this feeling of I have to do something, but then at the same time the urgency of doing more goes away. So take a close look at where you might be having a false progress, or at least a progress not big enough. Another hidden cost is to avoid the decision. And I remember when I first wanted to start to invest and I started researching, how overwhelmed I was. It was like 50 tabs open, so many terms, so many theories and strategies, and it was too much. But the thing is, it's not like the complexity just suddenly goes away. And it's also not like there's suddenly more time for you in the future to do this than now. What helped me tremendously at the time, I have to say, is also the realization that it's totally okay to listen to one person that I trust, because that's ultimately how I did it. Through all this noise, I found the person whom I trust with the investments, and then I followed this person's investment strategy. And I think it's also important to understand that you do not have to know everything before you start. You just need to understand enough, and then also accept the fact that some of it is just learning by doing. Another hidden cost in the stage of feeling fine is lifestyle inflation. And even when you're already putting aside money like I did, this can still creep itself in, because it happens through these little upgrades here and there. Doesn't even have to be the better apartment, because this is an obvious one, right? But signing up for a subscription more easily than you did before, or going to the nicer store, or also going more often to the nicer stores. You know what I mean. And then the longer you stay in that stage of feeling fine, the more your lifestyle will claim from the money that you have to your disposal. And the biggest problem that I also see here is that most people don't realize, the higher your lifestyle, the more wealth you actually need to sustain it. And it's so important to watch the gap between the lifestyle you're leading and the wealth you need to build in order to keep that lifestyle, and maybe even expand that lifestyle more if that's what you want. And the last hidden cost of the stage, feeling fine, is opportunity cost. Because the hard part with all of this we talked about is that what you are losing is not actually visible. So it's not like you're making a huge financial mistake, like you're buying a single stock for 1,000 and then you sell it for 200, because that's a loss you can see and you can feel, right? But opportunity cost, so what you missed by not doing the right things earlier, that's not something you see or feel. So you don't feel the money you didn't make through investments, for example. And this invisibility is what makes it so dangerous. Visible mistakes just get corrected, but invisible mistakes, if you want to call them that, they just get repeated. They continue unless you actively take a look at, okay, what is it that I actually want? How much wealth do I want to build? And then break through that cycle and actively work towards that. And so I hope this video becomes your wake-up call to check if you are stuck in the stage of fine, and you take that as motivation to get yourself out of there, so that you can make the decisions that pull you towards financial freedom. Because financially fine can also switch to financially struggling, for example, by external factors like a high inflation. But what we want is to be independent from factors like this, right? So get uncomfortable enough to move out of the fine stage. I hope this helps. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.